Jamaica's new generation of criminals are building fortunes and major criminal empires. Recently, we explored the horrors of extortion and the massive rewards it reaps.
Tonight, we follow the trail of dirty money, where criminals hide their newfound wealth to escape prosecution. Find out more, starting now on CS311.
Crime Stop Jamaica and National Bakery, in association with TVJ and our sponsors, ICD Group, Grace Kennedy, Pullman Things, Progressive Grocers and Guardsman, present CS311 with Deirdre Dixon and Leroy Hall.
Lottery scamming is Jamaica's most famous international crime. But activities such as cybercrime, trafficking, extortion, and fraud also pay major money for the underworld, money whose source must be hidden.
Where does it come from, and where does it go? And how easy is it to track? We questioned Deputy Superintendent Carl Berry of the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Branch of the JCF.
Money laundering is a global concept. It's really where people disguise their illicit activities and use whatever they benefit from, the profits derived from, to perpetrate other fraudulent activities or just, for example, enrich themselves. It's not only businesses, but people. For example, if you enrich yourself by engaging in any illicit activity, and once it's contrary to the laws here or contrary to laws overseas that would have been laws here, then any profit derived from that would be laundered funds. Once the startup capital came from illicit sources, wherever you go beyond that, then the asset is recoverable, meaning that the state has an interest and it should be forfeited to the state. The players in money laundering represent almost all groups. So it was a myth, and still is, to believe that it's only large corporations are involved in the crime, when you have the average Joe Bloke who's laundering. So let's use an example. Let's say a cousin of yours is overseas and dealing in drugs, and that cousin sends you a motor vehicle for you to operate as a public passenger vehicle. That motor vehicle would represent laundered funds, and you using it and benefiting from it would also be a money launderer. There are several safeguards in place. Let's start globally, because money laundering is a global crime. It affects every country. So the Financial Action Task Force, which is that global body that is set up, it's based in France. They regulate anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism activities on the global scale. Regionally, we have the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force. They regulate what happens within the Caribbean and other countries that have signed up. So in Jamaica, we have the Financial Investigations Division with the mandate to investigate financial crimes. We have within the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Constabulary Financial Unit. They are embedded at FID. We also have the Fraud Squad and several other police framework treats with money laundering. So there's an effective framework in Jamaica to counter money laundering and the ill effects of it. And just for the records, money can be laundered from several transnational organized criminal activities as well as regular crimes. Again, we just want to warn citizens to remember that money laundering impacts those who are indirect beneficiaries of the crime. So if you are a stay-at-home member of the family and you're benefiting from the criminality that exists, let's use extortion for example. If monies are extorted from business people and you benefit from that, in that you get to send yourself to school or pay your taxes, the end game is that you are also participating in the money laundering process, and you, though maybe a conduit, would be deemed an abettor or a conspirator in the crime.
Smart criminals know the best place to hide something is in the full view of the world. And how better to cover up dirty money than to sneak it into the legal financial system to erase its past? Here's how they do it. With modern technological advances, money can move anywhere in the world with speed and ease. making it more and more difficult to trace its source. The complex process of money laundering can be broken down into 3 stages. Stage 1 is known as placement, or simply moving huge amounts of cash away from the source before it can create suspicion. Placing money can mean disguising it in legitimate businesses, depositing it in small amounts into the financial systems, or converting it into foreign currency for foreign bank accounts. Stage 2, or layering, starts once the money is in the financial system. It is then split up and converted into monetary instruments, used to buy and resell assets, or transferred from country to country, with each step making it more and more difficult to track its origin. In stage 3, known as integration, criminals must create an apparent legal origin for their funds by introducing them into the formal economy, purchasing luxury assets, creating front companies, disguising ownership of assets, inventing fictitious loans. After all of those efforts to conceal, finally the criminals can comfortably use these earnings, which will now seem to be coming from a reputable source. This season, we featured several murders. Some remain unresolved. Tonight, we return to some of these crimes and to the questions they have left behind.
We begin at the gates of a school where a father was attacked mere feet away from his son, and then to the tragedy of a young schoolgirl who fell into the hands of a heartless criminal.
Monday, November 12, 2018, at about 7:35 a.m. Ainsley Folks, otherwise called Ricky or Lobsterman, dropped his son off at school on Terrace Avenue, Kingston 10. He returned to his car and paused to check his messages. A man approached. There was a brief conversation. And then, suddenly, the gunman escaped on foot. Meanwhile, Ainsley Folks exited the car and collapsed on the sidewalk outside the school. Passers-by assisted him to a car and drove him to the Kingston Public Hospital, where Ainsley Folks was pronounced dead.
Did the man behind this gun think twice before spilling blood at the very gates of a schoolyard? We grieve for the children, and especially for the little boy who lost his father that day.
From a young boy cheated of a lifetime with his father, we turn to another child who never got the chance to see adulthood.
On Saturday, May 11, 2019, at about 9:30 p.m., Stefika Smith, a 17-year-old student of Maypen High and a British national of Four Paths, Clarendon, was reported missing. Earlier that day, Stefika and a friend were in Maypen Town when she received a phone call and left her friend for an unknown location, supposedly to return soon. It wasn't until Monday the 13th, at about 10:30 a.m., that a passerby spotted a body laying partially hidden in a cane piece in the George's Pen community near Four Paths in Clarendon. He called the police. On arrival, they discovered the decomposing body of a young woman, clad in a jumpsuit, with her upper body uncovered and a single stab wound to her neck. The body was removed to Maypen Hospital, where it was confirmed to be that of young Stefika Smith.
If you have any clues to the identity of the killers of Ainsley Folks or Stefika Smith, the lines at Crime Stop remain open. Your identity is confidential. Your help is vital.
A reward totaling $200,000 is being offered for any information leading to the arrest and charge of the perpetrators.
Estimates say 2 to 5% of the world's GDP comes from criminal money. That is 800 billion to 2 trillion US dollars in cold cash. Now hold that thought as we pause for Missing.
Missing, brought to you by Progressive Grocers. An Ananda alert has been activated for 15-year-old Sandrine Watt of Lilliput, St. James. She has been missing since Wednesday, April 4, 2018. She's of brown complexion, medium build, and 157 centimeters or 5 feet 2 inches tall. Sandrine Watt was last seen at about 11:10 a.m. in the St. James Family Court and has not been seen since. She was wearing a yellow dress, grey sweater, and a pair of white slippers. An Ananda alert has also been activated for 14-year-old Renee Campbell of Fraser's Content, Spanish Town, St. Catherine. She has been missing since Saturday, December 15, 2018. She's of brown complexion, slim build, and about 152 centimeters or 5 feet tall. She also has a chipped tooth and a scar on the right side of her forehead. Renee was last seen at home at 10:30 a.m. She was dressed in a white blouse, blue jeans, and a pair of black slippers.
The deeper illegal income travels into the financial system, the harder it is to find it, freeze it, and forfeit it. More on the illegal money trail coming up, but not before Watch That Scam.
Hi.
Thank you so much for visiting the bank today, ma'am.
I'm here to withdraw $400,000.
$400,000?
Yes, that's correct.
That's a large sum of money, ma'am. Oh, wow. Okay, may I see some ID, bank card or anything like that? Okay. Do you want that in 5,000s or 1,000?
You can mix it up.
Mix
Just
it up?
mix it up,
Okay,
yeah.
no problem. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, let me just run this through the machine just to make certain. Okay. Just for a second time, you know, I love the sound of money machines. Here you are, ma'am. Thank you so much for visiting the bank today.
Yeah.
And remember to tell my manager that you were served by Antoine.
All right, Antoine. Have a good day.
Take care.
All right.
Bye. Yo, Anto. Yeah, she just leave out of the bank a while ago. Yeah, man, she wear one like a pretty frock. She have the money in her bag. Yeah, man, just deal with the thing, man. We have to leave. All right, go. I'm looking for the highway.
The highway?
Yes.
You have to turn back around. Yeah, you're gonna have to turn back around.
Turn back around now.
Yeah.
A little bit. Come here a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. I just want to show you something.
No, please do.
Go in here. Hey, don't make a sound. Give me money. Give me the money.
Please don't kill me. Don't kill me, please.
I say where the money there?
What money?
What do you mean what money? Hey, walk this now. Hey, don't come with me again. Hey, where money there? Yo,
Please
come on.
don't do this.
Come on.
No, please.
Yo, come on.
No.
Ease yourself now. Road me, G. Next time, she will make sure that she thinks carefully before traveling with such a large sum of money upon her. She should have chartered a taxi from a reputable company. Even better yet, why she never use a bank transfer or get a banker's draft? You should have never wait at a bus stop or walk alone with so much money upon you. Ants follow fat and scammers follow money. Be wise. Don't be scammed.
Jamaica is one of the 29 members of the Caribbean Financial Task Force fighting against money laundering and financial terrorism.
The very suspicion of large-scale money laundering is a threat to any country seeking foreign investment to boost its development. Our next guest spoke to us about dirty money and the financial system.
Financial institutions use the following tools to help detect and prevent money laundering: client risk assessments at onboarding to determine the AML risk that a particular client poses, We also do customer screening at onboarding to determine whether there's any relevant adverse information on the client, and throughout the life of the relationship to determine if a customer's status has changed. We also do real-time transaction monitoring and reporting to the Financial Investigations Division where necessary. The competent authority is the governing body for financial institutions with respect to adherence to protocols re money laundering. For non-deposit taking institutions, the competent authority is the Financial Services Commission, and for deposit taking institutions, it's the Bank of Jamaica. Illicit funds are not necessarily disguised as legitimate salary, but as legitimate income. And some of the common money laundering techniques in Jamaica are using a cash-intensive business to essentially commingle taint or illicit funds with legitimate funds, or using the accounts of friends and relatives to detract from the attention of the launderer themselves, or conducting business through a designated non-financial institution like a real estate dealer or a gaming lounge or an attorney. Financial institutions have to be vigilant in the fight against money laundering, as failure to do so can result in reputational damage or loss of customers due to a lack of confidence in the financial institution to keep their funds safe, or loss of correspondent banking relationships where a weak AML framework is detected. And also financial institutions and their staff can be charged with money laundering offenses, which include penalties and fines, and in some instances jail time. It is acknowledged that financial institutions and even the regulators find it difficult to keep pace with the rate of emerging technologies. So some of the things that we need to look out for are virtual currencies such as Bitcoin, e-wallets, prepaid cards, and new methods of payment. Launderers tend to use technology because it provides a cloak of anonymity, and in some cases it lacks regulation.
Are you absolutely sure about the people and businesses you associate with? More on this after the break.
Money laundering has become so sophisticated that even the dirtiest of funds can appear to be legitimate, and innocent people can become unwilling accomplices. Look out for these warning signs.
Safety Tips, sponsored by Guardsman.
We all need to be very conscious of what the laws say about cash transactions and the limits on financial transactions made in cash. The law of Jamaica requires that all transactions must be below the sum of $1 million. If you do a cash transaction in excess of $1 million, it's against the law. When we do business or we are seeking assistance, financial assistance, we need to be very careful and do a lot of due diligence. Many times persons will come to you and will want to lend you large sums of money, either for personal reasons or for your business, at less than the normal interest rate. You need to be careful because these persons may be laundering money, and by participating in that transaction with them, you may very well be breaking the law and a part of a financial crime. Whenever persons come and you're renting properties or you're going into various transactions and they're asking for cash payments or they want to make cash payments to you, you need to be extra cautious. Persons may rent properties in the names of other persons because they're really laundering the money that is coming in or the use of the property. When they lend you to buy cars, to improve on your housing, buy appliances, or just loans to expand your business, and they're lending you in cash and they're lending you at less than the market interest rates, you need to look out because they are probably laundering that money, and by participating in that transaction, you are guilty of a financial crime. Always do due diligence. Sometimes it's a pain, but make sure you do due diligence. When money is being transacted and it looks too good, there is usually something negative attached to it. So protect yourself by doing as much research as you can and protecting yourself as best you can. Be aware of the laws governing cash transactions and the use of money.
Here are 2 more unsolved crimes from this season.
We hope that this time someone will respond to our appeal.
11 a.m. Sunday, June 19, 2019. Keats Avenue, Duhaney Park, Kingston 20. Two men wearing construction gear were seen approaching the home of Salome and Simona Plummer. One sister asked the other to let the person in as they were expecting a repairman.
Somebody knocking, go out, open the door, come in and sit.
Suddenly there were loud explosions. And shortly after, the two men were spotted jumping a fence. One got into a waiting grey Mitsubishi Lancer motor car, while the other ran in a different direction. He was picked up around the corner shortly after. No motive has been established for this brutal double murder. But the end result is that two more beautiful Jamaican women have had their lives cut short.
Unlike the Plumbers, Ren Malcolm faced his killer out in the open in sight of possible witnesses.
Tuesday, November 13, 2018, at about 1 in the afternoon, Mr. Ren Basil Malcolm was at his bike shop on Derrymore Road, now called Courtney Walsh Drive, when he was visited by a man who could have been a potential customer. For no apparent reason, the visitor pulled a gun and shot Mr. Malcolm 7 times. The gunman ran out of the shop and started firing wildly, hitting several people. A licensed firearm holder returned the fire, but he too was hit. The gunman, murderer, then ran onto Eastwood Park Road, where he held up a taxi operator and made good his escape. Mr. Ren Basil Malcolm was rushed to Andrews Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival.
Do you have the answer to these crimes? Are you prepared to stand up for justice? A reward totaling $200,000 is still being offered for information leading to the killers of Salome and Simone Plummer and of Ren Malcolm.
1 minute of your time is all it takes, and a true desire to help.
Dirty money. Now you see it, now you don't. It's not magic, but the mastery of criminals with the power of technology and the latest expertise in their hands.
Money laundering is an international and a Jamaican reality. Be on the alert. Our future depends on it.